Errol Spence talked about Floyd Mayweather's greatness, and he said that Floyd Mayweather, in terms of the sport, him being the greatest of all time, he said he did everything for the sport. And he mentioned when he came out with the ski mask against Conor.
Are you talking about when he robbed the bank? He's trying to act like he robbed the bank.
Yeah, metaphor saying that he robbed the bank in terms of sport, with the money, with the fame, with everything. Right. What's your thoughts on that?
See, Floyd Mayweather, he's the pioneer of a lot of different things. Errol Spence is talking about Floyd Mayweather being the pioneer of robbing the bank. And that's what Floyd Mayweather pretty much did in the sport of boxing, because
he dominated both inside the ring and
outside.
The business part
the business, and like you say, he dominated inside the ring and outside the ring. He was very smart, calculated person. So, for example, let me tell you a couple of the pioneer things that Floyd Mayweather should get credit for. He was the first one to fight an MMA fighter or a UFC fighter, Conor McGregor, and made $300 million in one night in 30 minutes or less than that, 28 minutes. I mean, $300 million. Pretty much that fight was zero risk. Conor had no chance in hell. I mean, Floyd Mayweather just pretty much carried. Floyd Mayweather knew that. You're like, you know what? This is about to be a lifetime opportunity, a century opportunity.
Yeah,
another person might not
Conor
get. Yeah, I mean,
how able to promote the fight the way Floyd Mayweather did.
Yeah, so see the Manny Pacquiao fight for Floyd, that was the biggest fight of all time on pay-per-view, because the biggest fight of all time is really Muhammad Ali versus George Foreman. I believe half of the world saw that fight.
Wasn't it George?
No, George Foreman was the biggest fight, because I believe half of the world. I mean, I literally mean half of the world.
Yeah, it was
every person that had a TV. Every person that had a TV, they watched the fight. They said it was 3 billion people watched the fight. So imagine that on pay-per-view. That will break any type of record. Yeah. But on pay-per-view, Floyd Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao was the biggest fight of all time. However, that was a risky fight for Floyd, because Pacquiao is one of the greatest of all time. But Conor fight, there was literally no risk. He came out of retirement, 49-0, about to be 50-0. Now people are going to be like, oh man, he fought somebody that's 0-0. He had no professional fights. You got to understand, Conor McGregor, still a good striker. He had weight on his side. He never got beat on his feet in the MMA or in the UFC. He had a boxing background. And why is it okay for Chavez Sr., one of the greatest Mexican legends, why is it okay for him when he was 49-0 in his prime? In his prime, he fought a guy making his pro debut. Why it's not okay for Floyd Mayweather to fight a Conor McGregor who's actually got boxing experience, and he's a huge MMA star and could fight under the bright light? So, like I said, it's just double standards, because Oscar De La Hoya, the same person that all the people that boycotted the fight, from Oscar De La Hoya to Bob Arum, and the list goes on and on and on. Even Canelo Alvarez, they all called out Conor McGregor afterwards.
Oscar had a problem with the fight also because the date was close to his fight with Canelo and Triple G.
Triple G. And
he felt like the money could
He said the fight won't sell, and the fight became the second biggest fight of all time on pay-per-view. And Canelo versus Gennady Golovkin didn't even come close. So obviously you can see why he mad. He was bitter about the situation. Yeah. But like I said, it's just hypocritical for Canelo, Oscar, and Bob Arum wanting to fight Conor McGregor next. Even Bob Arum wanted Crawford to fight Conor McGregor. Oscar wanted to fight Conor McGregor. Canelo wanted to fight Conor McGregor. Pacquiao wanted to fight Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
So how y'all criticize Floyd? But then y'all want to go and do the same thing Floyd did.
The money. So he already had money. Now he's going to get more money on top of it.
So he the pioneer of a lot of things. That's one of them, is thinking outside of the box in order to make revenue. And then he was the pioneer of drug testing. See, back in 2009, man, I don't know how many athletes was doping, because there was no random drug test.
Yeah.
So you could take steroids, and if you know how to get away with it and you surround yourself around the right people, you're going to basically cheat and get away with it, right? So it wasn't until Floyd Mayweather came. It was Floyd Mayweather that was the pioneer of that.
Once he was on the A side.
Yeah, once he became the A side, when they were trying to get him to fight Manny Pacquiao without body testing.
Yeah.
He said absolutely not. But funny enough, just show you how the double standards work, they said Floyd Mayweather, they said that he was scared of Pacquiao. When Pacquiao didn't want to take the drug test. They want to claim that Floyd Mayweather was scared, right? And then when Donaire, a Filipino fighter, takes a year-round drug testing, they want to give him the credit for being the pioneer of drug testing, when it was Floyd Mayweather that started it to begin with. So it's just show you the double standards. Floyd Mayweather was the pioneer of drug testing, which since then, I could name you the list of so many different athletes that got busted taking steroids.
Yeah.
You know, and not just in the sport of boxing, but even in the UFC. It became mandatory for you to take a drug test at the elite level. He's also a PBC partner. A lot of people don't know that Floyd Mayweather owns PBC. Not all of it, but a portion of it. Because see, Floyd Mayweather, people really thought he was joking when he said, me and Al Haymon is one. What he meant by that, I'm a PBC partner. Me and Al Haymon partnered to create PBC. Floyd had the name. Al Haymon had the mind. He had the plan. He had the backing. And he had the connection. So when Floyd Mayweather, like I told you earlier, when he left HBO was the main entity in the sport of boxing for like 40 years. They were hating the crap out of Floyd. I remember Larry, for example, when Floyd Mayweather was fighting. Larry would be like, oh, this was an entertaining fight, but look at the crowd. Oh, he will never be an Oscar de la Hoya. But then ironically, he surpassed Oscar de la Hoya money-wise, pay-per-view-wise, crowd-wise, you name it. He said, oh, Floyd Mayweather boring. And then Floyd fights Gotti, his favorite fighter, knocked him out, stop him.
In fashion.
You know, and he fought Endom, one of the most entertaining fights of the year. And every time Larry had a request, Floyd Mayweather delivered. He told him, oh, you ducking this guy. You ducking Baldomir. He fought him. Even Kenny Bayless. Every time he interviews Floyd, always criticize Floyd. He always tell him, oh, why you don't fight Ricky Hatton when Ricky Hatton is ducking? Then Floyd fights Ricky Hatton. He makes that fight happen. He tells him, why you ain't fighting Baldomir? He fights Baldomir. Every time they named an opponent, Floyd Mayweather fought. They never gave Floyd Mayweather his props, right? Which, remember this point. I'm going to follow up with it later on. But the point is, Floyd Mayweather got fed up. He gave HBO a plan. He was like, I want a 6-fight deal with $260 million guaranteed. I believe they turned it down because they was the biggest boxing entity. They also had Manny Pacquiao. So Floyd left HBO and went to Showtime, and he created PBC with Al Haymon. And that was such a huge power move because it destroyed HBO, the biggest boxing entity. Because see, Tyson left HBO and went to Showtime, but Tyson wasn't focused. He wasn't dedicated. He was losing to fighters he wasn't supposed to lose. Floyd Mayweather, he had the star power of Mike Tyson. He was on that level, one of the most popular fighters of all time, him, Muhammad Ali, and Tyson. So when he went to Showtime, it destroyed HBO because Al Haymon had so many fighters that came with him. Because of Floyd Mayweather, Al Haymon ended up signing so many different fighters, right? And that's how PBC got created. That's how PBC became the UFC version of boxing. And that's how HBO left the boxing game because they could no longer compete. They kept talking about Al Haymon, the cancer of the sport. But now look at boxing today. Who is saving boxing? Al Haymon. If it ain't for Al Haymon, after this pandemic, we won't have any upcoming fights. All these upcoming fights from the Charlos, Gervonta's, to Errol Spence, to Sean Porter's, Ugas, Lara, all these upcoming fights we have coming up, all thanks to PBC and Al Haymon. It ain't the Zone. It ain't ESPN. So how ironic is it, though? Floyd Mayweather, he had Brian Kinney always attacking him. He had all these reporters hating on him. He had all these commentators from Larry to Jim Lampley hating on him. But where is Canelo Alvarez's version of that? Just to show you the double standards in the sport of boxing. Where is Canelo Alvarez, Kenny Bayless, the guy that's going to interview him and put pressure on him and ask him the tough questions? Why are you avoiding Andre? Why are you avoiding Charlo? Till this day. You know what I mean? Like, where is Canelo Alvarez's version of Kenny Bayless? Muhammad Ali had the same thing. Like every time, you know, Muhammad Ali never turned down a fight. Muhammad Ali went to Cuba to fight the best Cuban sensation amateur at the time because he ran out of competition. Yeah, because he whooped every single person that was there. Frazier, George Foreman, Sonny Liston, and the list goes on and on. So what I'm saying is Canelo Alvarez, on one hand, he's ducking, he's maneuvering, and he does an interview with Max Kellerman. So Max Kellerman, instead of having his Kenny Bayless moment, asking Canelo Alvarez the tough questions. This is not called hating, it's called criticizing him, because Oscar De La Hoya, Morales, Barrera, Chavez, all of them demanding Canelo Alvarez to fight Charlo and Andrade. Even Oscar De La Hoya, his own promoter, he said in order for Canelo Alvarez to be great, he have to fight Charlo and Andrade. Even Bernard Hopkins said if Canelo want to be a Mexican great, he have to face Charlo and Andrade, right? So this is legit criticism. It's facts. There's actually criticism there. And Max Kellerman, he want to lie instead and say, Canelo Alvarez, you're always known for fighting the best. Telling a huge lie on TV. But the reason why that is because of Floyd Mayweather quote. It's one of my favorite quotes. He always says, I'd rather be hated for telling the truth than be loved for telling a lie. That's how I feel. Yeah. That's why I always come with the truth. Because when I say the truth, I don't feel any guilt. But when you lie, there's guilt there. There's contradiction. There's lies. You're not going to stay consistent. You criticize the fighter that don't duck anybody like Floyd Mayweather, but you praise the guy that's ducking people like Tyson Fury and Canelo Alvarez.
He's going to catch up with you.
Yes, but that's why. But Max Kellerman is saying very comfortable. He don't get no call-ins. Me, I'm challenging decafs to call in. I'm challenging YouTube trolls to call in. I'm challenging old media and the decafs wizards to call in, but they don't call in. And the people that call in, they get dealt with, and it don't be a split decision. It be a knockout. But what I'm saying is Max Kellerman, he'd rather be loved for telling a lie than be hated for telling the truth. That's how Max Kellerman operate. And to each your own. But all I'm saying is you don't have to be disrespectful. If I interview Canelo Alvarez, I wouldn't be disrespectful. I'm just going to ask him the tough questions. The questions that the fans want the answers for. When are you going to fight Andrade? When are you going to fight Charlo? And I'm not trying to hear no bull crap talking about he's born. Because I wish Canelo would tell me he's born. Because then that will set him up. Because now I'm going to ask him even the tougher question. Well, why you say he born? Canelo going to respond with, oh, he move around, he run. Well, why did you run against Gennady Golovkin? See how you put yourself in the corner? And you can have a great moment back and forth like Kenny Bayless had with Floyd, like Muhammad Ali had with his people, you know. But again, like I said, it's just double standards in the sport that fighters on the coincidental list deal with, and fighters on the hope list, they just get the benefit of the doubt because the hope insurance cover everything. It covered ducking, it covered maneuvering, it covered taking steroids, cheating, it erased the losses off your record. You could ask Lomachenko that, and you could ask Tyson Fury that, and you could ask even Canelo that. I mean, he even failed the drug test. So let's move on to the next round. To all the decafs, oh, excuse me, boom, snap my finger, all the decafs back because I ran out of decafs. I knocked out so many decafs on split decisions that I can't even pay a decaf to call in on Boxing Hood. The Brotherhood of Boxing. AKHi stand for my brother. So if you're an AKHi of mine, subscribe below. If you're trying to get smarter by the minute, if you're trying to get dumber by the second, don't. And listen to these decafs, the dumb, casual-ass fans that don't know shit about boxing. Word to Roger Mayweather. May he rest in peace, inshallah. Shout out to my bro Ski, my AKHi Dante, the entrepreneur of new media that I'm a part of, the real media that talk about the real issues in boxing in general. So with that being stated, subscribe and click on the notification bell to get notified every time I post or go live on Split Decision and Boxing Hood. AKHi stand for my brother. This is my own brother right here. All the decafs. I'm going to bring y'all back to existence. Oh, my bad. That wasn't meant to be. But all I'm saying is grow the cojones and call in Split Decision because that's what I do to y'all cojones. Smash. We smashing cojones like tomatoes. So call in if you got cojones. They got no cojones, my AKHi. Like my man Armstrong said.
You don't know shit.
For the people that don't know shit about boxing, he was talking to.
You better not duck me, son.
Quit ducking the question.
You better not duck me, son.
Quit ducking the question.
Hold it, you're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I bear witness, there's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. That's what I said, Larry, on the Bungle fight. Thanking you.
can call me the problem, but you could call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.